Lin-Manuel Miranda, the creator of Hamilton, stopped by the White House, and so he did a freestyle in the Rose Garden with the president, which was just, I'm still shocked that happened. And then on the right, we just, during the White House Correspondents' Dinner, where the president goes up and makes a ton of jokes, we thought it'd be fun to just put him on the Iron Throne for those Game of Thrones fans out there. And one of the weirder traditions of the White House, but also one that's really fun, is the turkey pardoning. So every year, the president pardons a turkey, and there's this kind of ridiculous ceremony that's fun, but also sort of absurd. And the president will have these two turkeys. He'll pardon a turkey. We wanted to, once again, create engagement even in some of the most, lighthearted, ridiculous moments. So we turned the turkey pardoning into a vote. So this year you'll see we put out the two hashtags of the two birds, Team Mac and Team Cheese, and whichever hashtag got more impressions, more usage would win. Later on, when Twitter came up with Twitter polls, we turned it into a Twitter poll. Just another fun way that we tried to build engagement with our followers. And a quick story on this. So you'll see I'm with Mac and Cheese in a strange-looking hotel room on the left there. Every year, the National Turkey Federation would actually put the two National Thanksgiving turkeys up in a hotel next to the White House. In the W Hotel, there would be a suite there. And so, we had to make all these digital assets on the turkeys. You'll see the graphic there on the right. So we needed a lot of pictures of them, so we just went up to their hotel suite and started walking around and taking pictures with these turkeys, and it was probably one of the most surreal moments of the White House. But just another moment where you're like, is this real life? So at this point, we were in early 2016. The president had this kind of mantra of, run through the tape, we can't just, stop now and close up shop. And, my sort of personal interpretation of that is, I really wanted to make sure that we, locked in the president's legacy, that we could build upon it. And I was sort of getting the itch to go back into campaign mode. So enter the Hillary campaign. I moved up to Brooklyn, took a job running Hillary's social media team, which also was sort of a combination of both the social media team and the longer form content team that did produce content for HillaryClinton.com and the website and some longer form sites. And you'll see here that the campaign team is a lot bigger than the White House team. The White House team, it's government salaries, government jobs. There are a lot fewer spots, and so you have to make do with a much smaller team. Here, there's just so much more that you need to do. There's so much money to raise, there's so much mobilization, there's so much voter contact. So you need a really big digital team. And this was the biggest digital team in presidential political history. And so 2016 was very different from 2012 in a lot of ways, but I think one of the things that was so consistent is your teammates here, your family. You live with them, you eat with them, you are working day and night with them. And so, despite obviously, this being a really tough election and the outcome, I still consider so many of these people, my war buddies. And so, for those of you who are thinking about getting into politics or already starting to get into it, it's, when you do these, when you work on campaigns and you work on these advocacy campaigns, the people you work with really become your family. So they're the people that get you through it when you're on no sleep and exhausted beyond imagine. So I don't want to go into too much as much detail on the Hillary campaign, but I just want to throw out a few different anecdotes. So here you'll see a couple of images of the two, both the Hillary and the presidential candidate Tim Kaine coming into the office, and at Hillary for America, we really wanted to make digital front and center once again. So on the left, you'll see one of the women on my team actually teaching Tim Kaine how to tweet. when he came in and visited the office, and she was responsible for, producing.
You're saying on the other side, we lost it
Oh no, is it? Oh, I might have accidentally.
Sorry.
No worries. So, on the left, you'll see my teammate, and she was really responsible for the Tim Kaine accounts. Making sure that we're really like channeling his voice. There we go. Making sure that the content that we were putting out on Tim Kaine's accounts was authentic. He's obviously a very different person than Hillary, and so identifying what are those voices, what are the types of content you want to put out on the Tim Kaine channels versus the Hillary channels is very important. On the right, you'll see Hillary came into the office one day, and one of the things that I found most endearing and most interesting about Hillary was, when she came to the office, most of the time candidates just come and they make this big speech and fire up the troops, and that's great. With Hillary, she made a quick couple remarks, but then she really wanted to come around to every single team, talk with all of us, ask us how we were doing, ask us what our team was working on. She really cared about every single team as people and individuals, and so this was a really neat moment where our team just got to talk with Hillary Clinton for a few minutes about what we were up to, and certainly a moment that I will not forget. So as I said, 2016 was very different from 2012, as I'm sure a lot of you experience and would agree with. But one of the interesting things about tweeting for Hillary versus tweeting for Obama, two incredibly well-known politicians and political figures, two completely different personalities and different styles. So with Obama, it was, we sort of, whenever I was writing stuff, whenever I was, editing people on my team's work or thinking about, how do we channel his voice, it was kind of this like, hell yeah, Obama tone. Like, not really like spiking the football, but like, it was okay to be a little cooler, okay to be like inside on the joke. It felt authentic, it felt natural to his personality and his voice. So we really wanted to channel that with his content. With Hillary, I sort of, the phrase I kept, saying to myself in my mind was she's sort of like a no-nonsense policy wonk with a side of Hemingway. So what I mean by that is like, she cares so much about the substance, so much about the policy, but, she's a grandmother. She cares about, women and kids, and she's not like cool per se. She's, almost 70 years old. So we were always trying to think through, like, how do you sound like the adult in the room? How do you use short, declarative, forceful statements like the two you'll see here, using kind of her dry wit. She has a very dry wit, certainly compared to Obama, but making her channels and making content on her accounts seem authentic to her voice and her personality. So a couple quick anecdotes here. On the left, you'll see one of for most of the campaign, it was our most retweeted tweet, delete your account, which this was right after we had just won the primary against Bernie, and we had just crossed the delegate threshold to be the nominee. And so a couple days later, the president endorsed Hillary with this video that we produced, and then 5 minutes later, the current occupant of the Oval Office, prior to him assuming that position, tweeted this absurd tweet, Obama just endorsed crooked Hillary, he wants 4 more years of Obama, but nobody else does. And we were just sort of like, okay, well, this is kind of ridiculous, but it seems like a good opening for us to respond. And a few days earlier, there was a different Trump controversy on, I think it was on equal pay, and him being, against equal pay in some way. I can't remember the exact phrasing of the quote that he gave. And I thought, maybe we should just say, of course, the delete your account is sort of a Twitter meme, an internet meme, and we're like, why don't we just have Hillary say that? And you know, we thought about it, we debated it, talked to my boss about it. We decided to hold on it because it didn't seem quite absurd enough in just a broad sense. But then as soon as he tweeted this after the president endorsed, we thought, this is the moment, let's go, let's just put it out. And it got a lot of attention. But it held true to sort of her like dry wit, her, you know, no nonsense, I'm just gonna strike back and address this. On the right, you'll see, so this was later on in the campaign, beginning of October, when Trump had just tweeted the previous night at 3:20 a.m. About Alicia Machado, degrading her and demeaning her as one of his, you know, former Miss Universe, Miss America pageant people. And so we thought, all right, like, you know, there's a whole bunch of hysteria on this issue. Why don't we tweet at the exact same time the next night, but talk about the policy issue that Hillary's going to talk about the next day? So we just sort of made a joke about how, hey, it's 3:20 a.m., like, we're going to talk about national service and AmeriCorps and expanding Peace Corps. So there's a whole, you know, series of tweets after this that sort of laid out the policy, but we kind of tried to use this as the hook to get people to actually care about national service. I think they cared more about the joke than national service. But, so obviously, you know, things did not turn out the way we wanted, and you know, this here is, you know, probably one of the worst days of my life. You know, this is, you know, whatever side of the political aisle you're on, when you're working on something for an entire year, 24/7. And it, you know, you care about it so deeply, and then, especially when, you know, you were favored to win and succeed at the thing that you're doing, and you don't, it's really hard to take. And